My name's a.j.miller, but I'm actually Jesus. My name's a.j.miller, but I'm actually Jesus.
I remember all of the events of my crucifixion. I understood what was going on. I understood the reason for my death.
And he's collecting disciples. Miller has convinced them that they were with him at his crucifixion.
Just went to get the spike and smash it into his hands, and just so much love that come from him, so I couldn't do it.
It was excruciating to watch basically the annihilation of the person that I love the most.
Whenever I think about him now, I just cry. I'm starting to have a soul, like an emotional realisation of who he is.
What's happening here is AJ is talking about emotions. Now, most religions are suspicious of emotions. They see faith as essentially a thing of the mind. But emotions take us to the heart of AJ's teachings. What he's doing is setting up a sort of spiral where people get dragged down and down and down, and people are asked to plumb the depths of emotions from which many of them can never escape. One of his techniques to draw people in is to demand that they find emotional trauma in their family history.
Let yourself feel what it was like to have to shut yourself down so much just to please your mother. Because that's what she wants. That's what she wants you to do. Shut you down so much. And she was giving you all of these things, but she wants a heap of things in return from you, and that feels bad to you. So allow yourself to connect with that. That's it. And as you connect to that, you will start really connecting. That's it. And as you connect, that's how much rage is there. You see, this is the childhood rage now. You see that? That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. And this is the childhood rage that's still there. Let yourself feel it. Yeah. You feel that? Right.
Because a lot of times
And children are being caught in Miller's web as well.
Well, that my dad didn't want my mother. And
before he became Jesus, Miller was a Jehovah's Witness pastor, but fell out with the church over an incident with a prostitute. I first met him and Mary during the Brisbane floods. For many years, Miller made his money out of land development and a computer business. But now, he believes he holds the salvation of the world in his hands. Along with a growing number of disciples who are buying properties next to him, he lives outside Kingaroy in Queensland.
My first memories were having nails driven through my feet, and those memories began when I was just over 2 years of age. So I didn't put them together as, oh, I'm Jesus from that. And so I just sort of slotted it into the back of my head and went merrily on with my life, until such a time as I started having a lot more specific memories about my life, which happened when I was 33, really.
Is it true that your mother tried to commit you to a psychiatric ward?
Yes, it is true. Yeah, and so, and these are things that I knew would occur. This is why I went, what? I've got to, like, I'm having all these memories of who I am, and I realise all of these different things coming up, and I also think about my future, and I go, boy, do I really want to bite this off again? My mum and dad in the first century followed me around, telling everybody I was crazy for most of my ministry. So you know, my father didn't even change his mind until my passing in the first century.
So can you show me the nail marks in your hands?
Of course not, because it's not the same body.
Miller spreads the word via the web, YouTube and seminars here and around the world. He claims there are 100,000 of his DVDs in circulation. He calls his message the Divine Love Path, which offers oneness with God through AJ's teachings.
It's torn my life to pieces. I've lost my wife, I've lost my home, I've lost my family. It's been tremendously devastating. And yet he's calling this divine love. If Miller walked into the room right now, the way I feel right at this point, initially I'd have him up against the wall and I'd look at him right in his eye and I'd rip the f***er's throat right out.
Miller's reach is international. In San Francisco, I met Dugan McVerk, whose wife, Jennifer, fell under Miller's spell. Tell me about Jen before she knew AJ.
Yeah, Jennifer was one of the most effervescent and lively spirits put into a body that I'd ever seen. With some one of the most amazing connections that I've ever had with another human being.
So in that relationship, what happened for yourself is it just triggered more of that childhood hurt that you felt with men.
Jennifer was introduced to Miller's teaching by 2 Australian friends and became captivated. She would watch and listen up to 5 hours a day.
Every day, there would be more downloads, and it was continuous. I watched Jen over the course of a month or so basically become so absorbed in it that it seemed to be the whole focus for her. It was everything that she would be listening to.
She came to me with tears and said to me, Dugan, he really is Jesus. AJ really is Jesus.
Unbeknown to her husband, she began donating money to Miller and communicating by phone and email. Miller raised doubts about whether her husband was her soulmate.
Apparently, there's some requirement for soulmates, according to a.j.miller, which brought into our relationship the innuendo of doubt as to whether or not she and I were soulmates. It was as if there was a third party sitting right between us all the time. And I was watching Jennifer basically just disappear.
Within 5 months, Jennifer left Dugan and planned to come to Australia to be with Miller. Desperate, Dugan contacted Rick Ross, America's leading cult deprogrammer, to stage an intervention.
When Dugan first contacted me, he was very worried, and he was hoping that somehow, through an intervention, they might reconcile.
Jennifer, a.j.miller is not Jesus.
I explained to Jennifer that after meeting many, many cult leaders that claimed to be Jesus or God, how could she be sure that Miller was in fact Jesus? And all she could respond is, the teachings make me feel good.
It's given me joy.
And there was a kind of euphoria that she experienced from listening to the tapes. And in a sense, this is a key to the way that Miller quells their critical thinking, induces the kind of self-hypnosis that I've seen. They put their headphones on and they listen to downloads for hours on end. And I think this has a mind-numbing effect on them.
I am out of here.
The intervention failed.
Basically, Miller sets himself up as God. He is Jesus Christ. He is the God-man. And if you disagree with him, you disagree with God. So if you have a spouse or a family member and they are critical of Miller, they have come against God. And therefore, they are not spiritually right for you. Or as Miller might say, they are not your soulmate.
Yesterday morning, I left my husband after 30 years. And
yesterday morning?
Yes. And I knew that it was something I needed to do because I was in an unloving situation, and I knew that I no longer really loved him, and so I wasn't living in truth.
Yep.
But it was still very hard and it was still very sad.
Yep.
I've talked to so many people around you who are married, some of them married for many years, and I asked them the question, how long have you been married? Some people say 25 years. I say, is your wife your soulmate?
And they say, I don't know.
They say, I don't know.
And that's okay. Like,
it's not okay, AJ.
Why?
That puts a tremendous pressure. Marriages are breaking up around you because of this teaching about soulmates.
It will become very obvious to you whether the person you're currently with is your soulmate or not. And this is why it's so good to be in your current relationship and work through the issues until you get to the point where you know that this isn't right. And when you know it isn't right, obviously that is the time for you to leave. And when you know it isn't right, obviously that is the time for you to leave.
My teachings are all about love, developing relationship.
No, they're not, AJ.
They are.
They're not. A lot of your teachings are about addictions, about emotions, about fear, about struggle. You take people into a sort of holocaust, an emotional holocaust.
Yeah, I can't agree with that, David. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I see.